Welcome to the Airiam Podcast. This podcast covers topics related to cyber and human resilience. This content's geared towards CEOs and owners of small and medium-sized businesses, as well as IT and cybersecurity leaders. My name's Art Ocain, and I lead cybersecurity and incident response at Airiam. Today we're talking about SaaS security solutions, and we brought Nazar from UnderDefense to discuss it with me. Nazar is a cybersecurity expert and has led cyber defense for Ukraine, as well as the company UnderDefense, and has founded that, and is that company is taking off and doing great things. And so what better guest to bring on to the podcast than Nazar? To get started, Nazar, I always ask people what they do to start their day. So what's your morning routine like, Nazar?
Art, first of all, thank you for bringing me here. It's a big pleasure and honor for me to be with you today. Thank you for making this time, because I believe, this is the most valuable resource we have ever in our life. And you asked me about my time. I'm a happy father of three kids, and my morning starts together with them. They have to go to school. I'm helping like a lot of to my wife, because three kids. I was thinking that it is, two kids are good, but three kids are, the level of complexity really rise exponentially. I wasn't expecting things like that. But overall, it's focusing on making sure that everyone are busy. In a kindergarten, in a school, and also me leaving to the workplace.
Awesome. And as a father, I feel that, all the ideas of all these morning routines that people should have, and get up and go to the gym and get up and do this, that's great until you have kids. And then, your morning really becomes the kids, making sure the dogs are fed, making sure the kids are fed, making sure everybody's out the door and has what they need. So I get where you're coming from, and then to me, like the other morning routine stuff, just kind of you fill in the gaps in the rest of the day with that. Yeah.
Moving from self-management to people management, and you need to manage all this. Sometimes it's complicated, because I also need to travel a lot, and you need to arrange and multiple things during the morning.
Great. Yeah, I think that it is almost a logistical nightmare sometimes, trying to figure out how to get everybody where when they need to be, especially when there's only two of you at home and there's three kids and everybody's it's like you're having to juggle. So I feel you, and I'm glad that you get a break sometimes from that. So it's great. So let's dig into the topic. So SaaS security has come a long way. There were years ago, there was a lot of pushback against outsourcing security, because can I really trust an outsourced team? Can I trust a SaaS provider to provide a solution that I should have in-house? That was kind of like the feeling. And as layoffs have happened, and the push to be more optimized has happened, and companies are trying to make do with less, they've had to outsource a lot, and they've had to figure out SaaS solutions that will really kind of help secure their environment, and sometimes strengthen their internal SOC team, or sometimes help not need as many people on the internal SOC team. So it's been both. It's been, hey, let's add a SaaS tool here to help us just be stronger, and here's add a SaaS tool to help us reduce costs. So we've seen it from both angles. But anyway, so SaaS security has come a long way. Now products are very good and very effective. And there's some, not all of them. There are some that are complete vaporware out there. And, the opportunity to have a good SaaS security solution it has come a long way. what I'd like to talk about first, I guess, is kind of like what risks you're seeing that, you know, whether it's small businesses or enterprises, that people are not addressing that they probably should with an outsourced product or a SaaS security product. And then I'll talk about what I'm seeing with some of my clients.
Look, so first of all, like regarding your message that like people were like that it was that overall like security as a service or SaaS security movement started because of COVID. I wouldn't completely agree with you with it
Mm,
because like uh, like before COVID,
mhm,
like people have like were thinking that hey, we need to build
mm,
everything. COVID was a big driver to really push people work remotely. And what is even more important, like you don't have to be in office, so it means that that work can be done anywhere. But it's about the expectations management.
yes.
You can hire people from Texas or from Alaska. You can
Yeah.
hire people from New York or San Francisco, and it really pushed many teams to, uh, like consider more cost-efficient options
Hmm.
uh, to build the global remote first team. And it's like with the right expectations and right management approach, it proved its effectiveness.
Hmm.
As example, security, as we all know, is not the revenue function. And sometimes it's really hard to get the budget. It's
Yep.
also about like, do you want it to build a team that handles the incidents daily? It's nearly impossible for most companies,
Yep.
and these things like that are available that are not core of your business
Yep.
operations, like it makes sense to outsource it. As example, I'm outsourcing legal, I'm
Mhm.
outsourcing accounting and some other things that are not, core
Yep.
elements of my business. I
Yeah.
believe that many, entrepreneurs and mid-sized businesses still do the same because
Mhm.
like you need to be focused. Otherwise, you disrupt your attention to business
Mhm.
to build various different functions which are not bringing money to the company.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a good way to think about it is, really, uh, companies a lot of times build their own security team, but it's almost because they want this thing. They feel like they need to own it, and sometimes they realize that this isn't something we need to own. This isn't something that's a money maker for the company. It would be better if we just, worked with these other outsourced providers or SaaS companies, and integrate these right SaaS products in order to optimize that cost. So yeah, I think that's a absolute reason that that's happening. Um, as far as people that haven't really, bought into it yet, what do you think the resistance is for people going to a SaaS provider?
Like it's um, again, there's various scenarios
Hmm.
to get to the point.
Hmm.
Uh, like you sometimes it doesn't make sense to have it as a service.
Hmm.
Sometimes, for example, it's not one size fits all.
Yes.
For like big enterprise who have like the very specific infrastructure, it makes sense to have it internally.
Hmm.
For all the rest, it makes sense to have it, as a service, as a function.
Hmm.
Uh, so it all depends on like what is the budget and
Yep.
for function to complete the mission, and like where the company is in their development. Mature teams, they understand that they want to work with the best.
Hmm.
The best people don't want to waste their time for, doing something that they have done 100 times. They wanted to do something cool, innovative. So they wanted
Yes.
to preserve this talent like you
Hmm.
uh, in the company. And that's why they, like give away the boring routines, the things that are important, but
Yep.
not critical.
Yep.
For a team to exist. So like this way, through outsourcing this function of like SOC as a service, outsourcing daily, like logs, alerts, monitoring is thing that a third-party vendor can deliver. On the other
Hmm.
hand, it's what's keep your team motivated because they can practice the skill, get certification for Hack the Box,
Hmm.
and like solve the real business problems to make company compliant,
Hmm.
to do the incident response, and by
Hmm.
the way, also makes sense to have the third party incident responders, like guys
Hmm.
who like professional firefighters who deal
Yes.
with on a daily basis, not to keep this team internal because again there is a difference between like 5 incidents per year and 100 incidents per year. It's like people with different contexts, with different level of experience. If you wanted to work in a stable environment, work for enterprise with 5 incidents per year. If you wanted to work for like to get this unique experience and have joy, fun, and
Hmm.
like mess around, work for service provider who have 100 and more incidents per year,
Yeah.
and interesting. It's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, speaking to that, incident response, when we've been involved in incident response, we were doing, between, you know, 10,000 and 50,000 hours a year of incident response, and depending on how busy the year was between really 2019 and now, and when we
It's
go
not
on
it's boring hours. It's really fascinating hours.
exactly. And when we've gone on site, and met with teams, a lot of times, the internal team hadn't experienced ever an incident, or they've just had some low grade incidents, and they really hadn't practiced it. Where our team had been through this year after year after year. We've been doing it every week. We're dealing with new incidents. And so, when we're bringing in forensics teams from the outside as well, same thing there. They're doing forensics hundreds of times a year on incidents. So they're going to be faster. They're going to be a lot more seasoned and used to kind of how an incident is handled. And so that was an advantage of bringing in our incident response team as well as an outside forensics team, like your forensics team as well. So that is it is something that is definitely a pro for outside stuff. What we our SOC has matured and kind of gone through a lot of different generations over the last several years, and what we've realized that we're not great at SIM management. We're not great at creating all the detection engineering rules. We're great at response, is seeing valid alerts and actually doing something with it. So we like to partner with a SaaS provider that will allow us to focus on the part that we're good at, and will handle like the detection engineering, managing the SIM, putting in the SOAR rules and things like that. So a kind of, I think as companies kind of mature and they grow, they kind of realize what they're good at, and then kind of fill in the gaps with a SaaS provider. And so at least that's internally where we are. And with our clients, I think our clients, for the most part, they are completely outsourcing security. And so, with a couple exceptions, some have internal security teams that are very small, and they need us to just pick up part of it. But most of our clients are completely outsourcing security. And I think when they're doing that, they're really trying to check a box. They're trying to say, okay, somebody's taking care of my security, but they don't really understand what that means. They don't understand really what their needs are. A lot of times they don't really understand even the risks that their organization faces every day. And so to them, outsourcing security, they may look at something that's a $3 a month, just a simple monitoring as a service thing. or they may look at a more comprehensive solution, which is much more expensive, and someone's actually handling their response, actually handling triaging and responding to, their risks in their environment and handling any threats that are happening. So I feel like there's just a wide, gamut of possibilities that people can buy. And a lot of small businesses and a lot of enterprises even don't really know how to figure out the right thing to buy. So when you're working with clients, how do you kind of help them figure out, okay, these are the risks that you have, and these are the kind of solutions you should be looking at? What's that conversation usually look like for you?
Let me add something also additional to what you just mentioned. It's way better to have this expertise like incident response team, SOC team on top than on the payroll. And another thing is that when you have someone internally who is dedicated for security, obviously this person will try to build the team under him, to manage someone. Not the modern businesses, as all people talk about the AI, and they're trying to have less people on the payroll, less employees, because success of the business is usually measurable by metric called revenue per employee. So the less employees you have internally on the payroll in your P&L, it's better for investors. It's really way better demonstration of, hey, we use our funds effectively. We have less people, we have more revenue, we manage cost effectively. Another big opening for myself was that approach: build versus buy versus borrow. Friend of mine, before buying his own apartment, he used to live in 7 different apartments. He tried various options. He was paying less and more, and he figured out what works best for him. And the same is for smart people who are initial security dedicated employee, and they can actually try hire different security providers, hire different vendors, test them, give them a hard time, learn how it is done by the best or the worst, and you can compare apple to apple. So you will know what to expect, how to build it internally, because hiring is a hard story.
Oh yeah.
Not like you need to really sell to people to join you, because there are great company like Microsoft, like CrowdStrike, and many others. Why should they work for you?
Right.
You should be popular, or you should pay way more than the market. So that's why, again, having less employees on the payroll is way more reasonable.
Absolutely.
So answering your question, so how does the discussion looks like? First of all, I'm always trying to understand the business risk. If this is because it helps to understand the maturity of the customer. Do they have the pain? Do they have the need, or they just on the discovery phase? Need usually caused by compliance. Discovery phase, it's at some point of time the top level management realized, hey, we need to start doing something. We were asked a few times about it, where we are with it. And the best customers are people who have the pain because of compliance regulation, or the customer asks them, hey, where are you with that? We gave you our data. Give us answers: who is accessing this data, how our data is processed in your environments. Do you know the answer? And most often the answer is no. And people really don't know where the data is is located, and most complicated answer is what can make your business, to stop operating, how like in this IT ecosystem, where is your weakest point that can really destroy your business or harm your business, or what data platforms like CRM or like some ERP systems or like even Oracle DB can really cause significant financial impact for your business. Like most people don't even know this.
Right. And there's certain systems that are kind of a keys to the castle, or they're your kind of golden systems that you need to protect. And a lot of companies don't know what those are. They don't really understand how the underlying systems relate to them making money. And a lot of times I discover that during an incident. When we go into an incident and a Fortune 500 company has 3,000 servers that are down because of this incident, and they want us to get them back up and running. And we say, okay, so which of these are core to you making money? And a lot of times they'll look at these server names of servers that are down, and they're struggling to understand how those relate to systems and services that they offer within their organization, and how the revenue driving is related to those servers that are down. So a lot of times that's an exercise, and we spend hours during an incident working with stakeholders and saying, okay, well, looks like we need Active Directory up because we need identity services and we need to be able to log in. But beyond that, what's most important to you? Is it your accounting system, your ERP system, your manufacturing control systems? Is it your OT system? What is most important in your organization? And then we can focus on that and figure out, okay, they said ERP is most important. Which of these, what 100 servers out of here relate to the ERP? And then we can focus on that. But from a security perspective, and that's coming in an incident where they're already on fire. And a lot of times when we get called, it's a destructive incident. It's usually ransomware or something like that. And but that exercise should be done ahead of time. It should be done beforehand, and it can be done when a client or a prospect is engaging you, when they're trying to figure out what to secure. Okay, which of these environments, which of these systems are the most secure? How is this data being handled? What needs to be, what identities do we need to protect? What systems do we need to protect, etc. And it's almost that, I hate to bring the zero trust name into it, but that's kind of the zero trust strategy. A lot of it is figuring out what they call a protect surface, and figuring out, okay, what systems are in this protect surface that we need to protect. And rather than scoping the whole company, just figuring out what are the most important systems to the organization and figuring out how to protect those. And then you can, spread out from there. But yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it when you're talking about working with the company and kind of figuring out what the risks are and figuring out what's most important to the company, what makes them money, and figuring out a solution that really applies to them there.
Completely agree with you. Yep. But it all starts with the IT function. If they have a poor IT function, security as a service or SOC as a service wouldn't save the day, because it's IT usually is on a core of this pyramid, and only this small triangle here is the cybersecurity that controls IT to make sure that it will not cause a disaster. And it's security function is about protecting the IT function even from destroying itself.
I love, before you go on, I love that diagram you did with the little triangle at the top, and you said controlling IT. That to me is the dream state. It's usually, I think, an upside down triangle, and IT is kind of controlling security. And security doesn't have as much governance as they should over what's going on. But go ahead, go on.
Again, it's like there is CISSP and CISSP
Yep.
really is a desired state,
Yes.
but the right model.
Yes.
Probably, like we doing with like, for example, our ICP very often is a CTO or CIO.
Mhm. Yep.
The people who understand that they need security to be in place,
Hmm.
know their infrastructure very well. They're trying their best, but they don't want it to like lose the focus on the things that they don't know, and it's time consuming to implement the new function like security, and effective cooperation with service provider. It's about the like first, like if they are asking the right questions,
No.
if they're really curious about what you have internally, what is the core of your revenue, like what is the core of your business, what is the core of like that should be up and running 24/7 and protected. And you know what? I see nowadays with all this AI hype, a lot of overpromise and underdeliver.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah, I think
So
most companies that say they are AI really aren't, or really don't have that integrated well, or really are using it correctly. Yeah.
this funny old meme that like where there's like complicated system built and there is like small tiny guy from Tahoma who knows how this thing works and who actually still supports this package or infrastructure or like it was like famous meme from for Log4j that like this small tiny library
Yep.
like is the core dependency for to making sure that this machine operates as expected. The same for like cybersecurity uh, partner or SOC as a service vendor or security as a service vendor or even IR vendor. It's about like if there are right questions asked and if they give you the numbers, because very often people are skeptical if should I give this function away, what will be the deliverable, what will be the outcome,
Hmm.
so what should you expect, like okay, you will do your work but it is a process, what is the outcome of this process. um, the big aha moment for me and my colleagues was when we started compiling the 30 days like impact report like four years ago. And like a big discovery for our customers was that, hey, does it mean that we are facing the cyber attack at least 3-5 times a month?
Hmm.
Like somebody tried to really like penetrate the user, they were digging in our system, they tried to do something bad for us.
Hmm.
It's like it was aha moment, it was reality mapping, because if you ask most of the CISO how many cyber attacks your company is facing, they don't know the answer.
Right.
They like how many incidents you processed like for last 2 quarters or even a year. They do not have, they can't protect this like uh, not because they can't use these arguments in front of the board,
Yeah.
because a very good argument is when like when you make an analogy that when you're driving a car and you are almost killed with on a road because of some crazy guy
Hmm.
on a big track try to smash your small car, and you have your kids, your wife, your family in your car. Well, then people try to understand the cyber risk way better because they map this to the day-to-day reality.
Hmm.
So when they understand how many, as example, we have a big customer who have a, like we know the metric, the house metric for them. This is the 1,000 incidents, like with various severity per year, per month. Sorry, per month.
Hmm.
So like it's incidents. There was an events that really like required attention.
Hmm.
So if you divide the 1,000 per 30 days per month, like it's a lot. And that's why we have a Tesla
Yeah,
autopilot that sometimes really save the lives,
yeah,
like
yep,
making the emergency stop for the car.
right. Yeah, and I think that relates to security a lot. Like a lot of times, people don't really take security seriously or really start measuring it until they've had an incident that has been significant. Um,
Right. Yes.
and then it gets everybody's attention. It gets all the stakeholders' attention. Until then, it may just be something that the SOC is dealing with every day, and nobody really acknowledges the amount of pressure that they're under and the amount of incidents that they're having to handle. So it's a very good point there.
Again, like if you talk to the board and you like, or you talk to the C-level stakeholders, you need to explain that, like cybersecurity incident is like any other incident,
Mm,
even on road, like it's your family and it's your business. Again, you need
mm,
to protect both of them, and you need uh, safety systems, and you need to, like uh, Tesla should monitor all environments around the car 24/7.
yep.
uh, like when there is emergency, like you need to have the policy to call the cyber incident response team to
Hmm.
help you deal with the incident in car and rescue you
Yep.
in worst case scenario.
Yeah. There was one thing that you mentioned a little bit earlier when we were discussing, and it just came to mind again, and I'd like to kind of flip back through it. It's uh, you said about trying a vendor, and if you have a problem to solve, try a vendor out, try a partner out. If they don't work, it may be time to try another one, and that some people are almost afraid to try. Um, and so I know personally I'm of the mindset that you should constantly be reevaluating your stack. I even whether it's EDR, whether it's SIM, it's whatever, there's a lot of pain between removing and replacing, so it does make it a little sticky. But sometimes there's just better solutions out there, and you need to kind of pivot to a better solution. But sometimes when we're first working with a company and we want to work on an engagement together, we don't know if they're great yet until we try them out and we kick the tires and we say, see how they respond to things, see how their services, how they react, things like that. So I know almost every organization offers a proof of concept where we can kind of spin up a proof of concept for a month or a couple months, in order to try a product out or a service out. But a lot of times, once you kind of sign on with them, you're signing an extended contract. And it makes it really hard then, okay, we're in this contract, and then let's say with a SOC provider, and then we had a pen test run. Pen test was completely successful. We never got one alert from the SOC provider. They never even saw a pen test happening. They never saw signs of lateral movement. They never saw, they didn't detect anything. And meanwhile, the pen tester was just running through the environment. Um, at that point, a lot of times you're sitting there, you're like, okay, I have a 3-year contract in front of me. What do I do? And I know there's other providers I should be reaching out to, but I'm kind of stuck. Uh, what do you think? When we're talking about SaaS and we're talking about finding or outsourcing a SOC, etc. When we are looking for partners, uh, what do you think? What should our process be for kind of finding a good partner, and how should we? Is there a way for us to kind of protect ourselves so that we can make those changes when they do underperform like that?
uh, Art, like what I learned also from a management perspective, and it's like dating someone, right?
Hmm.
When like you can stick to someone and afraid and be afraid to break up. You can always come back to someone to a good vendor. Like if you made a mistake, you can come back and like get even a better deal. And sometimes if you are afraid of this, like transformation, again, if not you, like somebody else will done it on like if you will leave the company as a CISO. So my perspective is that like don't be afraid to change a vendor.
Mhm.
If you have done, by the way, this is like for us is a very common scenario why we penetrate into the company, because we start with a fantastic, really demonstrating exactly that moment of when the like some of our competitors have this Schrödinger sock. It is alive and dead simultaneously. So like they were blind and they were not doing anything to solve the visibility gap problem.
Mhm.
They were not talking to customer enough that, hey, we don't see this data. Hey, like we run this simulation and like this simulation failed. We should add this data to the security data lake. So it is sometimes transition is painful, but like the smart CISO, they do not do the vendor lock-in.
Mhm.
They trying to keep the SIEM internally, and they can just like grant access, open API, and this transition, this switch is like that easy. So there is a like this blended model when you don't, as well, with guys like Arctic Wolf,
Mhm.
obviously they try to lock you in
Yep.
with like uh, I remember I have seen this like interesting moment when Microsoft failed somewhere. CrowdStrike make a bold move. They posted on LinkedIn that, hey, if you have a monolithic vendor, like you like if they fail, you will fail. Don't have this vendor lock-in. And you remember what happened to the CrowdStrike when they
Yes.
failed
Yep.
globally.
Yeah.
Uh, so the smart security leaders, they select the like um, they select not to be have a vendor lock. They have like hybrid architecture. They don't have this stickness to just Microsoft or just CrowdStrike or just some specific team. They do pilots. They
Mhm.
evaluate. They wanted to better understand what's going on in their environments,
Mhm.
and they allow pilots to because vendors are always trying to do their best.
Mhm.
What to do if you have a 3 years contract
Mhm.
and your vendor really fail?
Mhm.
First, it can be the first, like yellow card. And my recommendation, write an email to the CEO of the company.
Mhm.
You know, uh, CEO always is a brand father,
Mhm.
and like they will make a big push. If they failed to make a big push, well, you have to fire this vendor, and you need to make this story public
Yep.
because this is only way to make the company rolling.
Yep.
You have D2, you have Gartner.
Yep.
People leave reviews. Always do a good due diligence reviewing
Yep.
what people talk about vendor, what they like, what they don't like. There's AWS Marketplace.
Mhm.
Like also a great place when people, like try some technologies and they express their own opinion. Always try to use the marketplace to pilot the things on your own.
Awesome. I feel like that is probably one of the biggest obstacles we run into, is just pre-existing contracts, and a lot of times people are just you know almost afraid to fight the contract when it really doesn't work for them anymore. And yeah, that kind of lock-in is unfortunate. And I understand sometimes outsourcing SIM because we're just picking an MDR provider, we're using their SIM just because it keeps you from like having to purchase infrastructure and licensing and all that stuff internally. But it does create some lock-in. Then it makes it hard for you to move because your data lives somewhere else, and that's something that I see all the time.
But again, it's a choice, right? So
Yep.
like hire a vendor. For example, we have this approach. We want to like we understand where the market is moving,
Mm,
and most of our customer base they want to have the security data lake internally.
mhm,
They own to own the tools, and they want to have the like vendor like us or CrowdStrike
mhm,
to uh, manage that theme on their behalf.
mhm.
So they will be meeting all the requirements, even if they have to cut the cost because of some financial issues or any other circumstances.
Great. Now, I know we're kind of coming up on time here, so I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of discuss a little bit of what you guys do at UnderDefense. I know we've talked about a little bit of what you do as far as how you're having these discussions with partners and customers, but if you can kind of give our audience that is unfamiliar with you a little bit of background about UnderDefense and what your offerings look like, and then we can wrap it up.
Um, Thank you, Art. What we do really is the best. We prevent breaches. It's like where, like, it's our, historical legacy. But we actually solve the two major problems in the cyber. It's compliance and the breaches. So MDR, managed detection response, is our bread and butter. This is what we do the best. It's also known as SOC as a service, and like we take a customer SIEM or we bring SIEM with us and collect the customer telemetry and responds to any cyber incidents that's happening in the environment. And other things, we built a Maxi compliance platform that actually help customers to solve SOC 2, ISO, HIPAA, and other compliance regulatory requirements. And we combine this, theoretical and practical security in one single platform. So because like, again, two major drivers for our industry, it's compliance and hackers. So we solve to this core basic problems with our solution. So compliance is cheap and easy, and I believe my personal opinion is that compliance should be free.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you wouldn't get the practical security in place. So like I believe one day industry will like achieve this point in its evolution. Uh, because many people really fake demonstrated great compliance posture, demonstrating certificates, but they fail in the practical security.
Mhm.
So we solve both of these problems.
Great. I know I have arguments with people all the time about compliance versus security, and a lot of times I have compliance partners on podcasts, and their discussion is kind of the reverse of my discussion usually. But you know, to me, client compliance should just be evidence of your good security. And if you're doing good security, like you said, compliance should be free. Like, you already have the controls in place. All you have to do is show that they exist, and it's much more simple to manage than reverse of that, and taking and working from a compliance point of view and trying to work backwards. It's and compliance lags. Compliance regulations and things like that. Compliance bodies, they only come up with new policies and new rules and things like that every few years, and you know organizations like UnderDefense are dealing with new threats every day. So you're definitely in a better position to go security forward than you are compliance forward. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nazar. Are there any final thoughts before we close it up?
Uh, Again, have MFA always in place. It's and backups. It's a must for every business. Backups are number one always.
Awesome. Yeah, I think those are table stakes nowadays, but a lot of organizations, I still am on MFA projects all the time, helping big organizations roll out MFA. So it's definitely still an afterthought, even though it should be table stakes at this point. Thank you so much, Nazar, for your time today. It was a great discussion. Those of you listening, please subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're listening on, and you'll be notified about new episodes. For more information on Airiam, go to www.airiam.com, and we will also link to UnderDefense in this podcast.
Thank you so much for making this contribution for community. Through this paid forward approach, community is evolving. Thank you for it.
Thank you.